What's that like? Hey, what's going on, people? It's another edition of the What's That Like podcast. I'm your host, John Knowles. Great to be back with you. I know it's been a while. It's been almost a month since the last podcast we did with Zach Weigel. But this podcast is certainly a change of pace. I will tell you this, it's for you. This is a fan-requested thing. One of the first requests I got was, hey, you need to get a ghost hunter on the show. So it's fan-requested and it's fan-recommended. My friend Toby Bauer actually did one of these haunted ghost tours with my guest tonight, and that's Kaylan Schardan. Kaylan is a ghost hunter. And you can find out information on it, all the things she does, if you go to hauntedcarlinville.com. She does a lot of tours with those folks. But really a great interview. She certainly was phenomenal in the way that she answered a lot of the questions that I threw at her, and I threw a lot at her. I knew nothing about the paranormal world that she explores, so it certainly was an education for me, and I think you're going to get a lot of enjoyment out of it as well. But before we turn it over to her, I want to say a big thank you to every single one of you out there. It's been a tremendous kickoff, really, the first 5 episodes for the What's That Like podcast. We had over 1,400 downloads in the month of April. That was crazy high. I thought maybe we'd get 600 or 700, and that would be great. The fact that we doubled that, it's truly amazing to me. And then I real life got in the way. I've been traveling a lot for work and just haven't been able to do these. I've had a couple cancellations with some folks that we'll get back on here at some point, but really just haven't had the opportunity to put another podcast out for about a month or so. And even in that month, the whole month of May, we had almost another 300 to 400 spins on the podcast. So it's finding listenership. I can't thank all of you enough. I know a lot of you are recommending it to your friends and continue to do so. Share the page, share the podcast. I certainly appreciate all of that. So enough of the thanks. I can't really delay anymore. I want to get you to my guest, Kaylan Schardan, the ghost hunter, where I ask her, what's that like? So what was young Kaylan like?
I'm weird. I was always a very weird child. I was pretty much an only child. I had 2 half brothers that are a lot older than me. So I grew up in Medora.
Okay.
There's like 500 people, including cows. So a lot of times you just had to make your own fun. So being an only child, I had parents that were really into history and really into science. And so I was really into that kind of stuff. So I wanted to be a paleontologist or an archaeologist, Lady Indiana Jones.
Oh, that's awesome.
Doesn't really work out that way in real life, but that's where I thought I was going.
Yeah.
And I'm here.
So did you go to college and have that whole experience?
I went to college, but I worked my way through college. I graduated from Webster University in St. Louis. Okay. So I have a bachelor's in media communications. Okay. It's come in handy. Yeah. Time and time again.
Yeah. And what do you do today?
All kinds of stuff. I work for American Hauntings, and I do overnights, investigations, as well as Haunted Carlinville. I work for Century 21, and I also do some research for a political advising company.
Okay, that sounds good. So how did you get, you mentioned American Hauntings.
Yes.
How did you get into the paranormal?
So there was a time when I was like, hey, I'm going to be a journalist because I thought that's going to be my goal in life. And I worked for the Macoupin County Enquirer-Democrat in Carlinville. And it was October, and I needed a story. And I thought, well, I'd been hearing that the newspaper was super haunted, so let me see if I can get a guy out here to investigate it. I honestly just Googled paranormal investigator, and Troy Taylor popped up. Okay. He is an awesome author. He's written over 120 books about different paranormal and crime events. So I gave him a call, and he must have been super bored that weekend because he decided to come and do an investigation. So after that, we just kind of started talking and found out how weird Carlinville, Macoupin County is. So.
Okay. And what did they find?
Well, when we were doing the investigation at the newspaper, I had some kind of creepy things happen to me. Pretty much from the get-go, we started asking questions about what kind of spirits may be there. And whenever we would ask for any interaction, we would get bumps back, like knocks. So we thought, okay, there's something going on. They also had different equipment that they used, and one of the equipment that they used was a ovulus. And basically the ovulus, whether kind of different beliefs on it, but the idea is that it's going to intake energy and spit out words. Okay. So it was spitting out different words, and some of the words we got were main, story, and holiday. Now, the newspaper's on Main Street, obviously. Story, newspaper, duh. And then holiday, we're like, okay, well, it was like Columbus holiday. We thought it was like maybe Columbus Day. But then George Holliday, who was a very infamous person in Macoupin County and Carlinville, used to own the newspaper. So we started getting some interaction there, and that kind of started us down a path of, you know what, there's something here.
So this was your first experience with any of that? With
any kind of investigation. I actually, in Medora, grew up in what I would consider a very haunted house.
Okay.
We had a lot of experiences happen there. From being a little girl, I would hear voices. I would hear my name. I would see shadows. I would see apparitions that would come. I saw.
Really?
Yeah, I had a lot of weird things happen in that house. It was an old house from the late 1800s, and that always, spiked my interest.
Yeah. Do your parents still live there?
No, unfortunately.
Is the house still there?
The house is still there. From my understanding, when we sold it, they sold it to a couple, and I don't know how long they spent there. Not very long, but they ended up moving out in the middle of the night. So I don't think they lasted very long. We were there. I mean, I grew up there my whole life until I was 18. So
really,
we just put up with it. We were just kind of homey there with the spirits.
So you mentioned spirits. I mean, I say ghost. Are we talking about the same thing?
Absolutely. I mean, whatever you want to call them, kind of can go either way. Yeah.
Okay. So what would you describe as a typical spirit ghost?
It really just kind of depends. I think spirits are just as unique as people that are living.
Okay.
So if you have someone who is living and they're a super nice person and funny and friendly, you could have a ghost that's funny and friendly and nice. If you have, a person in your life that's a total jerk, you could have a ghost that's a total jerk. So it kind of goes both ways on that.
Well, that leads me to my next question. Why do these ghosts decide to stick around?
I mean, there's all different kinds of theories on it. It kind of comes back to what you personally believe about the afterlife and what's involved. There's some people that believe that there are some spirits that are here because simply they have unresolved issues. Maybe they're doing some kind of penance for something they did on Earth, maybe some lesson that they didn't learn that they need to learn in the afterlife. There's other people believe that spirits are not necessarily intelligent spirits, but they're more residual, meaning they're more like a timestamp on history. So if there was an event that happened that was very traumatic in that person's life, it's leaving an imprint of that energy, and you're seeing that played back like an old tape.
Okay, so is that something that happens typically? What they do? I mean, you hear rattling chains or something. Is that what you'll
It's always chains.
Yeah, well, again, this is my limited knowledge.
Yeah.
So if you hear these rattling chains, is this something you always hear? Oh, there's somebody here, an old Civil War soldier that was rattling the chains. Is that something that ghost always will do?
It could be, like I said, if they were rattling chains in real life, maybe it was a hobby. I don't know. I don't judge. But whatever they're doing, if they're rattling these chains, and that left some sort of imprint, we can get all Einstein here on it, but basically if it left an imprint mark here in that location, then it could be repeating, and it could just be something that is just, like I said, not intelligent. It's not like the ghost is there waiting for you, but it's just a replay of something that happened in history.
Okay, so to get a little scientific,
yes,
can you see them and I not see them?
I think it can depend. I've had certain instances where someone will say, I see something right in front of me, and I'm like, I don't see anything. And, they could be completely crazy. I don't know. But then you have other instances where, a group of people has the exact same experience. I think sometimes spirits, if they are intelligent, if they are able to have that intelligent interaction, will choose people to reveal themselves to.
Okay.
I kind of think of it this way. If you're somebody who has a problem, you have an issue, you're upset, are you going to go to the jerk and talk to him? Or are you going to go to the open-minded person and let them in? It's kind of the same thing. If you're an open-minded person, and there's a spirit around and they can choose who to go to, probably going to go to you over, the guy next to you who doesn't care.
Okay, that makes some sense.
Yeah.
So are they in a different dimension than us, and they're just kind of crossing over into what we see, smell, hear, those types of things?
There's all kinds of different theories. Maybe it's a different dimension. Maybe it's the same reality we live in, but that life and death sort of puts kind of like a door where we can't see that other side until we get there. Okay. So people have all different kinds of thoughts on it. But I think it all kind of comes down to is you're not going to see it unless you're meant to see it and unless you're ready and willing to see it.
Okay. And do the ghosts choose to be there? Like, for instance, if I wanted to talk to my grandfather, if he doesn't want to, then that doesn't happen? Or is that something that you can build that bridge across?
I think it kind of all depends on the person and that specific person who's passed their journey. Mm-hmm. Their journey might be one where they've met their peace and they're able to connect on the level that they want to connect. Some maybe aren't quite in a place to accept that they've passed and they're not able to make that communication. It's really, I think, on a very personal level as to what each person's spirit is able to do.
Okay. It seems to me most of the places you talk about, the haunted houses, so to speak, the courthouse, there's places in Alton, and we'll get into what some of those places are, but they're all old buildings. I mean, are there new haunted places? Like, are there, say, the ghosts up at the Walmart, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to deal with the ghosts at the Walmart. The people at the Walmart are quite frightening, so I don't even want to know what the ghosts are like. But that's a good question. I get that question a lot, is like, why is every place that's haunted old? Well, and the truth is, not every place that's old is haunted, and not every haunted place is old. I know of several places that I believe are dealing with hauntings that are of spirits that have recently passed. A lot of times, though, people don't talk about those because they're very fresh. They're fresh wounds. Okay. So if you go on a ghost tour, you're probably not going to be talking about a spirit that's passed last year because out of respect for the family, it's just things we don't talk about. When you see the TV shows, they're always going in these super old buildings. Well, that's because a lot of people don't want a TV crew hopping through their house. So a lot of times you're able to investigate and explore places that are abandoned or that, they need money to renovate, those types of things where, you're not going to be going down to the school that has kids in it every day. It's just not something they're going to let you do.
Yeah, you don't want that showing up on TV.
Not really, no.
The kids don't want to go.
School's exactly. Scary enough, no.
Churches, any business owner.
Yeah.
Probably no.
It's a touchy subject.
Yeah. What are some of the local haunted places that people can go visit? I mean, you do haunted Carlinville. Yeah. Certainly stuff in Macoupin County. Mm-hmm. Broaden the net a little bit. We're a Central Illinois focused podcast. Any list that you could kind of just run down mentally? Yeah, I mean, there's tons of places. I mean, you can Google and you'll get a whole list. Just thinking kind of locally, of course, Carlinville has a lot of places. Thinking of Alton, Jacksonville, Springfield, Decatur, mm-hmm. Lebanon. I mean, really any town you can probably find a place that's haunted. Name a few.
So I love Alton just because I actually went to high school in Alton and I have a lot of friends that are there and it's just kind of a place I love. So the First Unitarian Church is a very haunted and spooky location. We actually do go in there and do investigations. Mineral Springs Hotel is another one that's there. Milton School was another one. I don't believe they let people in there anymore, but they have businesses that are in there. Okay. Also, there's an old funeral home, theater guild in Jacksonville that I've investigated that's very active. A lot of colleges are active. Blackburn College, Illinois College, Millikan. I mean, there's so many colleges that have a lot of deep history and haunted events going on.
When you say an investigation, what does that mean?
Basically, what we do is we bring in people generally if you're going through American hauntings per se, and you're doing an investigation. You'll come with a group of people. We're going to talk to you a little bit about the history of the building and give you a rundown of different equipment that you can use. You'll then be offered to use that equipment. And we kind of, I generally, if I'm doing an investigation, we'll do a little mini walkthrough so you don't fall down in the dark because that's never fun. And then we go dark, shut off the lights, and we let people try to have their own experiences. Then about halfway through, a couple hours into it, we'll all kind of come together. And we're all going to start reporting, did you have anything happen? If someone says, hey, I was by the window and it was super cold, we're going to be like, could be just that there's a draft by that window. That's a time where we can come together, kind of debunk anything that might be just natural occurrences, and then maybe solidify. If you had an experience where, you were having really high EMF, electromagnetic field in a certain area, and you see that there's no lights or anything in that area, and 2 other people have the exact same experience, we need to maybe go back there and check that out. So it's just basically a time to come together and see what we experience throughout the night.
Okay. And how many people do you generally take on an investigation?
It really depends. We will do private investigations for people, so you can bring, your own group if you want. We try to keep it 20, 25, depending on the size of the building. Because the other thing is, if you have a small building and you have 50 people going through it, you're going to get all different kinds of noises that are just natural, just because.
Creaking of the steps, somebody walked on it, yeah.
Yeah, so it really depends on the size of the building.
Okay. What are some of the places that never disappoint? Like when you go, we're going to have a tour, and I know people they're going to find something. I
would say the First Unitarian Church in Alton, Illinois. That is a very interesting place. There's a lot of history. There's different speculation that it was used as an Underground Railroad.
Okay.
Years ago. Not to spoil it for anybody, but there was a possible suicide or perhaps other, I don't even know how to say it. I don't want to say murder, but there was a death there, and it could be a little speculated to as what actually happened. So that is a place where I would say most of the times I've gone in there, someone has had something happen.
Yeah. And who's there?
Who's there?
So if you're communing with this spirit, it's a repeating occurrence. Mm-hmm. Who are you talking to there?
They do believe that it is actually the former Reverend Mercer.
Okay.
He is one of those that is there. They believe that there are other spirits there too, possibly that were there during the Underground Railroad days. And then something else to kind of get into a little bit and touch on when you're talking about the church is there are sometimes spirits that aren't necessarily what we would consider human. There are other entities out there that I don't know if I would say that would be a human spirit. And that would be a location that I think sometimes you have otherworldly things happen that aren't very friendly.
Give me an example. Now I'm really interested.
So the church is one of those places I have never had anything personally happen to me. I can go in there, walk in there, be totally fine. There are other people that go in there and they get violently ill. We've had another guy, we were doing an investigation. I was there just kind of helping out. He was down in the basement, minding his own business. And this guy is probably 45 years old, big burly guy. He just gets punched in the back of the head. And I mean, he had a mark, and I know there was no one around him. So it's one of those things where sometimes spirits aren't very nice. And I think sometimes spirits aren't necessarily human either. And I think the church is a very interesting place to go. It's not a place to go and make fun of it. If this is like a first investigation, go there with an open mind, but don't go in there making fun of it, because that usually doesn't bode well for people that do that.
This is a church.
Yes, it is. It's an operating church.
Okay. This really brings up my next question. I'm talking to my wife, Corey, about this before you're coming over tonight. And we're talking, I go, would you ever want to do one of these? And she's, long story short, she doesn't know if she can mix what you're talking about with religion. Mm-hmm. And is that a line that you have to cross to go between? Is this something that you see blended? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, just kind of personal from my perspective, I was raised Southern Baptist. That's about as hodunk Christian as you can get. That is good old crockpots, banquets, no dancing kind of Christian. And over the years, I've kind of been more liberal in my views, but I am still a Christian, and I will say that. I do believe in God, and there are a lot of people that work in this field that are very, very spiritual. I do believe you can mix the two because, quite frankly, I believe we're all spirits. We all have a spirit, and I believe that there are good things in this world and there are bad things in this world. And if you want to accept the Bible for as it is, you can look in it and see that there are mentions of spirits and of demons and of otherworldly things. So all kind of believes, it's your own personal belief system, obviously, to each their own. But I don't think that necessarily believing in the paranormal makes you, the Satanist going to go sacrifice children.
Yeah, you don't see that.
Only on the weekends do I do that, so it's okay.
It's not a 9 to 5 thing.
No, part-time.
So, I mean, when we talk about angels, can angels move into this realm as well? Are we crossing over in the same types of spirits in your mind?
I think it's quite possible. I don't know. To my knowledge, I've never seen an angel. Maybe I have and I just don't know it. And I think that kind of goes back to seeing a spirit or a ghost. You might have run into something and you just didn't realize that it was from another world, from a different dimension, whatever you want to call it, that it was paranormal.
Okay. Going back a little bit, you talked about in your newspaper building, you heard some knocks.
Yes.
And that's how they communicated.
It was at that time, yeah. So basically what we do is we have different equipment that we bring. We try to get a baseline reading. So just to kind of do a little background on the equipment we use, one of the really popular things that people use for ghost hunting is an EMF meter, so electromagnetic field. Basically, you can buy these at a hardware store, buy them online. You're basically testing that electromagnetic field. And there's one all around us. I mean, your lights, your wiring, your cell phone, your laptop. There's always this electromagnetic field. A theory out there is that spirits, whenever they manifest, they disrupt that field. A lot of people believe that in order for spirits to communicate with us, they're trying to harness energy. That might be EMF energy. That might be heat energy, which is why a lot of times when you have a cold draft, people think there's a ghost because they're, again, the theory, they're taking that heat energy and using it to communicate. So the first thing you do is basically get your temperature. What's your temperature of the building? I mean, if it's the middle of winter and your building's from the 1800s, it's going to be a little chilly to start off with. So get a baseline. Get your EMF baseline. And then from there, you see if there's any fluctuations in that. And if there is, you need to maybe investigate a little further. So that's kind of how we started that. We just got a baseline and we started asking questions.
Okay.
We start asking questions. If there's anyone here, can you please make a noise? And then, of course, we had a knock.
Yeah, and you just knocked you just knocked the table there.
I just knocked the table. Yeah, I'm not trying to freak you out.
But Bob, our producer's here with us. Bob, did you get a little freaked out when she knocked on the table there?
Yeah, I felt the spirit. I
could tell he was super scared.
When I first came here for the first time, I knew the studio was haunted. So
yes.
I hope it's all good vibes.
Good. Yeah, good mojo.
So what kind of questions do you said you asked if there's anyone here? Show yourself, present yourself, and something may happen.
Yeah, right? Yeah. A lot of people will do that. People will kind of start out with vague questions as far as, is anyone here? And if you get an answer, then you ask maybe more specifically, are you a male? If you're a male, please knock. Are you a female? Please knock. So basically, you're just trying to open up that door, and then you see wherever that leads you. I mean, you might go into something and get nothing. That happens 9 times out of 10. Nothing happens. But that one time it does, then you start listening, and you kind of follow the path that they're setting out for you.
Okay. So that was at the newspaper.
Yes.
Maine. What was it? Maine?
Yeah, it was Maine Story and Holiday.
So that gets your curiosity running.
Absolutely.
The owner of the newspaper was a man named Holiday.
Yeah, he had owned it at one time. Yep.
As you go through, say, Macoupin County, who's the most famous ghost of Macoupin County that maybe you've been in contact with or someone else has?
Well, I mean, I've spent most of my time in Carlinville doing this, and I will say the courthouse is definitely a very active location. And George Holliday, as well as Judge Thaddeus Loomis, are very prominent, I think, spirits that are there.
Judge Thaddeus?
Thaddeus Loomis.
Tell us about Judge Thaddeus Loomis.
Thaddeus Loomis was kind of a shady man. That's kind of how I describe him. He was a very well-educated man. He actually went to law school in Kentucky. He had a great kind of ambitious spirit. When he was really young, he went out west and he tried to, find gold like all the young guys did. Well, he didn't, obviously. So he came back to the Carlinville area and he started farming because that's just what you did.
Right.
But that really wasn't good enough for him. He wanted more in life. He was just really driven. So he started striking up some deals with the Chicago and Alton Railroad. Well, he made a lot of money, invested it in land, made more money. So the Democratic Party just kind of started looking at him like, you know what, he's a really awesome guy, makes money. He ran for judge and he won. So Judge Loomis actually spent his first years very successful. But then if you're in Macoupin County, you probably heard the whole, $1 million courthouse scandal.
No.
You haven't.
Well,
Where
I'm sure
are you?
many
Where
of
have you been?
I'm sure many of the listeners haven't either, so you have to tell us.
So we have that beautiful courthouse in Carlinville. Very massive and awesome. Well, it was supposed to cost, like $50,000, which was a lot of money, but still, we were doing pretty good in Macoupin County at the time.
What years was this? Let me just
So this is like late 1860s as this is happening. And Judge Loomis, because he was so well respected, he was one of the top men put in charge of this project. Now, Mr. Holliday, he'd owned the newspaper, but he was also our county clerk. He was also one of the main men involved in this, and their whole job was to spearhead this project and get it built. Well, really right from the beginning, we had issues. So by the time that we ended up putting down the cornerstone, we had already spent pretty much our whole budget. So we started getting into a lot of underhanded dealings, and a lot of people believe that Loomis, Holliday, as well as several others in the area actually embezzled the money.
Okay.
So this kind of all snowballed, and here we are. And then the courthouse, when it was eventually completed, cost over $1 million, like $1,342,000 for this courthouse that nobody had planned to spend that much money on. Mm-hmm. So after that, kind of the whole scandal happened, and Judge Loomis, well, he ended up losing his seat. And then he went and he built something on the square. So if you're ever in the square in Carlinville, you'll probably see that country gypsy. She's got a little antique store. Well, that's actually the Loomis house. If you look at that Loomis house and you look over at the courthouse, you're going to notice they look pretty similar. They actually are built out of the exact same limestone. A lot of people think that Mr. Loomis stole some materials from the courthouse as well as money to build his hotel. So kind of a little scandal that went with that. Backing up, Mr. Loomis is now super stoked. He's got his new hotel going, lost his reputation, but business is good. Mr. Holliday, well, he just jumped on a train and left town. So there's a whole other, I could go on and on for hours about these two men and all the scandal that they've brought to Macoupin County and Carlinville. Actually, the Loomis house, to go a little further into Mr. Loomis, was pretty notorious for the Loomis girls. So it's basically hookers, ladies of the night, whatever, PG term you want to use for it. Working gals, were pretty notorious for that too. So.
Wow.
There's a whole story there, I'm telling you.
So Judge Loomis.
Yeah.
And Mr. Holliday are haunting the courthouse because?
I believe that I have different theories for Mr. Holliday, but starting with Mr. Loomis, I think a lot of it is he never really was able to, quote, enjoy his courthouse. Okay. And I think that he really thought himself to be a pretty awesome guy. He thought he was just the bee's knees. He thought he was the best judge around. And whenever that kind of, took a little bit off of him, he wasn't very happy. And I think that he ended up dying a pretty miserable person. There are people that will speculate that, no, Mr. Loomis didn't do anything and Holliday didn't do anything. And, Macoupin County, we're just totally awesome and we would never do something so scandalous. I'm telling you, they did. There's a lot of willy-nilly going on in there.
And this, we talked about this kind of pre-interview. You're a historian as well.
Yeah. So we research a lot of this. Yeah. And that's kind of what makes us different. There's a lot of people that go out there and they will bring, Psychic Susie or whoever. And I hope there's not a Psychic Susie that's going to sue me over that. But no, they bring, Joe Schmo Psychic and will tell you they feel the spirits here. And no, we don't do that. I'm not really into that. That's not my thing. What we do is we make sure that we research everything that we're telling you. So if I'm telling you a story, I'm going to have a piece of paper to back it up. There might be different versions of the story out there, but I'm going with what we've researched.
Okay. And you say we and us. Who is we and us? And we're talking about American Hauntings?
Yeah, American Hauntings. So Troy Taylor actually started this way back when. I like to mention it was 94, so I was in kindergarten, so to make him feel super old. But no, he started this way back when, and he has written tons of books on this. When we came up with the idea of Haunted Carlinville, they had already actually investigated the courthouse before and the old jail. So we were able to get some stories from that. And then from there, we just, I just kind of ended up building the history. You just, newspapers, people telling you stories, and you go from there.
So American Hauntings isn't just here. Tell us about the size of the organization.
Yeah, so we have tours that we do on a regular basis in Alton, Decatur, Carlinville, of course, Jacksonville, and Chicago. Those are where we do just kind of our 2 to 3 hour tours that you can go on. They do investigations, though, all over the country. So they go to like Mansfield Prison. If you're a fan of Shawshank Redemption, that's where that was filmed.
I've been by there.
Yeah. So they're going there, I believe, this July. They go to New Orleans. They go all over, and they do investigations.
Okay. Where would someone find information out about American Hauntings?
Yeah. So if you want to go to prairieghosts.com, you can go there, and that has all the information about American Hauntings. If you're specifically looking for Carlinville, hauntedcarlinville.com, or you can just go to Facebook, Haunted Carlinville, and it's got information there as well.
Okay. Kaylan, we'll play a little just town association with you here. If I were to name one of the towns here in the WTL, what's that like podcast nation, so to speak, first thing you'd think about in terms of a historic, cool building, haunted building, a ghost. Gillespie.
I would say Gangsters Coliseum. Unfortunately, it's burnt down, but there's a lot of good old Chicago gangster history.
Okay, that's Gillespie Beneld.
Beneld, yeah.
Okay. Staunton.
Okay, so this is one of those where it's a weird legend rumor. I do not know if it's true. I don't necessarily know if it's a haunted story, but it's a weird thing. Nicolas Cage, not a fan of his acting, gonna be honest, but good old Nicolas Cage, Con Air man, he actually has family that's from Staunton. And there's been different rumors that actually one of his relatives was killed in a very famous trolley accident, so...
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's true, but it's one of those legends.
Hillsboro.
I don't go to Hillsboro.
Nothing.
I don't
You
go to
know
Hillsboro.
there. Sorry.
Sorry, Hillsboro. Love you, but I don't really go there.
Litchfield.
I don't really think of anything off the top of my head.
Bob.
I think I know one. Like that shoe factory that they turned into the apartments there. I think there's probably some accidents that might have happened there that spirits are still waiting to get back on them.
Yes. So anyone shoe factory people, send us an email or a call.
My mom was a seamstress in that building for a while, way back in the day. Let's go with Verdon.
Verdon actually had a massacre. I don't know if it is haunted, but they had a massacre back in the day. They had some African Americans that were brought up on a train to do some work because there was a strike going on, and people died. So, little tidbit, I guess, there about Verdon.
Mount Olive.
I'm going to be honest. I have never really been to Mount Olive until today. And I've lived in Macoupin County my whole life, and I got lost when I was here. Sorry.
Well, when you leave here, we'll take you past the Mother Jones Monument.
Yes, for the miners, right?
She's indelibly tied in with the Verdon Massacre, I think, as well.
Yes, there you go.
All right, so that's good. A lot of places you've yet to visit, even right here.
Yeah, we're always looking for places to visit that are different. I think a lot of it has to do with people being willing to let us in. I swear I'm not an axe murderer or anything like that. So if you ever have anything, we're always willing to hear your stories. We'd love it.
All right. So let me ask you this question. You got started in this how many years ago with the newspaper?
That would have been 2014. So 3-ish years.
So about 3 years.
Yeah.
You've been doing this, building up ever since.
Yeah.
Are you certified as a ghost hunter? How does your preparation work? Is this just something that you're working with people, you've become more experienced with it?
Yeah, no certification. And if someone is trying to get you certified, they are scamming you. So please do not spend your money on that, people. With my skills of working at the newspaper, I learned how to do research. With my degree in media communications, I was able to kind of get into doing research and things like that. And then honestly, just getting out there and meeting people. It's amazing how when we first started our tour, we had, of course, a lot of great stories. But as we went along, people would start coming up to me and telling me their own tales. And we have a lot of things on our tour now that were not there at the beginning because we've had people that have just started sharing with us their own experiences. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was something that came up possibly there? Tell me one of those stories.
Yeah. So on our first tour, we had about 50 people. We were super overbooked, crazy. And we were walking in Carlinville by the Marvel Theater, and we crossed over the street to go back towards the courthouse. And a lady at Hollywood and Vine popped out, and she said, okay, what are you crazy people doing? 50 people on the side of the road. And we told her we're here for a haunted history tour. And she said, well, you need to come back and talk to me. So after the tour, we went back and we talked to Debbie, very nice lady. And she started telling us about all the weird things that had happened in her bar. So now she's been on our tour now for a couple years.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So Hollywood and Vine.
Hollywood and Vine, yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes.
I'm looking here if we've got any questions. I've got a couple questions of people that emailed me or messaged me. I got a message here from one of my friends. Actually, his name's Casper. No pun intended
that's
here.
That's paranormal right
so
there.
Casper wants to know, is there a lasting impact that you feel from these places?
I don't, actually. I try to, honestly kind of close myself off to it when I'm doing it because ain't nobody got time for that. I have other things going on.
Yeah.
I can't have any negative vibes going on. But there are people that do get ill from different experiences that they've had. They get headaches, they vomit, just having a very negative overall kind of imprint on themselves from that experience. It's not something that I hope for, but it does happen from time to time.
What's the purpose then of them making you ill in a situation like this? Are they just trying to inflict some evil? Is that what they're doing?
I guess they could be. I think it all depends on the person and the spirit. We talked about like EMF a little bit. People are legit sensitive to EMF. There are people, and that's why whenever a lot of times people will go and buy a house, they'll have a little meter trying to make sure the wiring's good and there's nothing crazy going on with that because it can give you headaches and can give you nausea. It can have all kinds of negative side effects if you're sensitive to that. So I think sometimes just that increase in EMF can have that effect on people. I think other people honestly kind of work themselves up. I mean, I'm a skeptical person too. And I think if you go into this thinking that you're going to be scared and pee your pants, you might be scared and pee your pants. So you need to be a little more realistic. And I think a lot of times it is all in your head.
So that actually, it's on my list here. I can prove it to you.
Peeing your pants is on your list.
My friend Al wanted to know, have you ever peed your pants? So
no.
That's good.
Not from that. not from that. No.
That's
no.
good. Do you have your own relatives visit you?
I do. Up until I was very close to my grandma and she passed away in 2010. And up until this year, I never really had anything from her. And I always wondered why. I never had any kind of connection. And then this year I started having, I believe, her visit from time to time.
And what happens?
A lot of times I'm going through something and I can just feel her presence there. I use dowsing rods. Basically they're copper L-shaped things. People call them witching sticks.
Okay.
Old timers used to find water with them and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
I've used those, I believe, to reach different people. We use them during investigations, and I believe she's come through with that. So it's kind of just a connection that you feel with somebody. And I think whenever you have a connection with somebody on Earth, when they pass, that connection doesn't go away, but it's just different.
So the whole watching over you, that stuff's... I believe in that.
I believe in that.
I mean, I'm an open-minded person. I told you when we started this, I'm a total open-minded skeptic. Never had an experience of my own, but I do believe in that somebody watching over you. What else? What haven't I asked you that maybe you were kind of expecting a question from me about?
Well, the one thing that I always get asked on tours is this like TV? No, it is not like TV. I am so sorry. There are people that come on the tour and sometimes they think either A, it's a haunted house where someone's going to jump out and scare you. Nope, don't have time for that. I'm not jumping out and scaring you. And I don't do that. That will make me pee my pants. I can't handle that. So no, we don't do that. And then they ask, is this like TV? And no. The main thing I guess I'd want to say about that is whenever we go and we do a tour, you're really going to get more history than anything else. I can never promise you that something scary or paranormal will happen to you. If I could.
No guarantees.
No guarantees. Yeah. If I could, I would have lots of money. I do not have lots of money. So that doesn't happen. And so when you go on these quote, big ticket sort of paranormal excursions, and if they promise you something's going to happen, it's a lie. They cannot promise that. So I just say come with an open mind. If you like history, you will like the tour because it's mostly history. There might be something creepy happen. I don't know. We start every tour. We do the history. We go to different buildings. We go inside different buildings. And at the end, we do a little mini investigation. Nothing too fancy, but it kind of gets your feet wet. And then if you enjoy that, you know what, come back and enjoy us for an investigation. If that's not your thing, then you enjoyed the history.
Okay. How long does a tour last?
Yeah, it kind of depends on the group we have. If the group wants to stay a little longer, we can do that. I say anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours. If you do a private tour, we can always custom, or I'm willing to at least custom that to what you want and what you need.
Okay. And what if someone was listening to this and thought, oh, I can do this myself. I want to start my own.
Yeah. I mean, you're more than welcome to. I think the best way, if you, let's say you live in a house that you think there's something going on, you can always contact American Hauntings people, and we can try to help you through that. Or if you want to do it on your own, you're more than welcome. There's equipment out there that you can buy. Google's awesome. You can kind of research how to use things. I would say one of the things that you can get pretty inexpensive is a tape recorder. Years ago, even dating back to like the early 1900s, they started kind of having this notion that spirits could communicate through different sound waves, radio frequencies, and things of that nature. And so people started trying to record spirits. Well, a lot of people do what they call an EVP session, so electronic voice phenomenon. Basically, you can't hear it with your ears. You can hear it on the tape. You can get tape recorders for like $20. Maybe start there trying to do that.
Digital doesn't work like tape?
You can get digital too,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tape just sounds more old school.
So you just mentioned this, and it reminds me, didn't talk to them ahead of time about this. I have some very close friends of mine that think that they've got ghosts in the house. Mm-hmm. Is this something that you could come to their house, just private little thing, see if they've got something going on, or at least somebody that's willing to talk to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have, I know myself and at least a few other people that I would say that I know very closely that I would trust them with my life to be there. They're not creepy people. We're not, taps coming in with all the, and filming it. We don't do any of that.
Yeah.
It's very much, we try to make you feel comfortable. And the main thing is, we're going to try to figure out what's going on. It may just be, maybe you have bad wiring. I don't know. Then you got to call someone else. But
yeah, you can't help that.
I can't handle that. But we will try to help you and then try to, help you to learn how to deal with that.
Okay. So do you have anything coming up that maybe the listeners here might want to partake in? You got any upcoming events? Yeah.
So every year we have what we call the Haunted America Conference. This is actually the 21st year for that. And it's going to be in Alton, Illinois, June 23rd through the 24th. And basically what we do is we meet at the Atrium Hotel, and there's vendors and guest speakers. And these are people that have been in the field a while. They are researchers. They are authors. They're people that this is kind of their life. And they come and they have different speaking engagements and things like that. We will also have activities. If you go to our conference, you purchase tickets to the conference, you can then also sign up and do workshops. You can do investigations. So that is all actually through AmericanSpookShows.com.
Okay. So that's an upcoming conference.
Yes.
What does American Hauntings have coming up? Any tours scheduled?
Well, that is our conference. But for tours, in Alton, they're doing tours right now. Decatur's doing tours right now. Chicago is. We'll be returning to Jacksonville and Carlinville, where I am in the fall.
In the fall?
Yes.
How would someone find the schedule?
Yeah, so hauntedcarlinville.com. Just go there if you're interested in Carlinville, where I am. I'm just kind of plugging Carlinville for myself here, obviously.
Totally understandable.
But you can also go to prairieghost.com, and it'll have the whole schedule for everybody. And then also, you can always go to Haunted Carlinville on Facebook.
Okay. So totally unrelated to what you're here to talk about in terms of this stuff, but totally related to my podcast.
Yes.
I do a segment on each show where I asked you about 5 questions.
Okay.
That are, just random. Get to know Kaylan. What are you like? So first of all, Kaylan, what was your first job?
Oh, geez. It was Subway in Brighton.
Yeah?
Yes.
What can you tell me about that experience?
The smell of bread, it just gets into your pores.
Yeah.
That's the biggest kind of
Can you go back
memory.
to Subway today?
No, I don't eat at Subway anymore. It's just too many bad memories.
I can relate. Nothing against the Hardee's Corporation. I'm sure
No.
they make a fine product.
Yes.
But I worked at the one in Staunton for 5 years. Shout out to the Staunton Hardee's from back in the early 90s. But yeah, I can count probably on two hands the amount of times I've been back there in 20 years.
Absolutely.
It's just something that you don't do.
You just don't do it.
I guess.
You move on.
Nothing against Subway, nothing against
No.
Hardee's. They're fine restaurants in this
No
country.
bad emails, guys. No.
All right. What CDs in your car right now? What are you listening to?
I like Sirius, but I am a huge grunge fan.
Yeah?
So Nirvana, Foo Fighters, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam. I also metal punk. That's kind of where I go. I will also go gangster rap.
So what CDs in there though?
I don't have CDs.
You don't?
I think I do have a Marilyn Manson CD.
There
in
you
there.
go. Okay.
Yeah.
What app do you have on your phone that you would be most embarrassed by?
I have right now, it's like a couch potato to 5K, and I'm embarrassed by it because I'm really bad at it. And I've only completed like day 1 of week 2, and it about killed me. So
That's not embarrassing. Though.
It is.
That's actually inspirational. Like, I've had people tell me it was like they play like Candy Crush and Word Cookie and stuff like that. That's not that embarrassing now. I can't fault you for that.
yeah, I don't have Grinder on there or anything.
Well, that's good. What TV show would Kaylan be a character on? Now, you're not replacing a character. Like, you're not going to be so-and-so on Friends. But what TV show would Kaylan the person be a good character on?
Can I go old school?
You can say anything you want.
The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
What is that?
That is a Nick show from the 90s.
Yeah?
And it was the quirkiest thing ever. It had like Iggy Pop. It was just the weirdest show ever. And I adored it. So Google it, kids.
All
Google
right,
it.
I'll Google that. What was your favorite Christmas gift you ever received?
This is going to make me... I was at one point a very girly girl, and I got my American Girl doll, Samantha.
Yeah?
With all the fixins. That was awesome.
That was the most favorite Christmas gift you ever got?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So now you know. Kaylin, anything else you want to promote here?
Basically just that if anyone has anything weird going on, if you have any kind of questions or anything, we are open to coming out to investigate.
Yeah.
We're also open if you have a group or something that you want to do a tour, or maybe you're interested in doing an investigation and you're not sure, what's coming up, check us out. We're always there to have different things available, no matter what your interests are. We have something for you.
What's it cost?
It really depends on the event. Our walking tours are $25.
Mm-hmm.
Something to also mention with this is in Carlinville, we donate a portion back to the Old Jail Restoration Fund.
Okay.
So the main goal that we kind of have here in Carlinville is to bring people to Macoupin County. When people come into Macoupin County, they're driving in from all over. We've had people from Iowa, Missouri, out of state, driving hours and hours to come to our tour. So they're stopping at your gas stations. They're stopping at your Hardee's or Subway.
Yeah.
And they're coming to spend money. So we want to kind of just get that tourism going. And we also want to get back to the buildings that are really in need of some renovation, that being the courthouse and the old jail across the street. So when you come on our tour, $25. Come on, less than a movie. You're getting your steps in on your couch potato to 5K. You're doing good. You're being healthy.
Yeah.
And you're also helping out your community.
What would you say, my final question for you, what would you say to a skeptic, a total non-believer?
I would say just keep an open mind. You can come and you can say, this is just, and you can just kind of make all kinds of faces and everything. But the time that something happens to you, you will not be making that face anymore.
Yeah.
So come with an open mind. It's not spooky. We're not jumping out at you. There's no psychic mumbo jumbo. It's history and hauntings. So,
and you said what, 80% history, 20%?
Yeah,
we'll see if something happens.
And I'm going to tell you, a shout out to all our senior crowd out there. I would say most of our crowd is senior citizens because they really do appreciate the history. And a lot of them we get so much good information and feedback from them because they've lived it. They've been around in the community. So we appreciate them coming out, and we invite them to come out. And anyone who, if you like the paranormal, or if you just like, coming and hanging out.
Do people come to you wanting you to get in touch with family members, trying to teach them how?
If they came to me, they'd be sadly mistaken because I'm not a medium.
All right.
I think if they did come up to me and say, hey, I'm trying to get in touch with someone who's passed away, I mean, I'm more than happy to find someone they can talk to that might be more experienced in that. To me, it's a very personal thing. I think for me, if I wanted to contact someone who's passed, that's kind of, everyone does that differently. There's different tools and methods to do that. I'm very, very skeptical of anyone who says, I'm a medium, now pay me $50 and I'll help you connect to, old Pappy over there. No, I don't really buy into that.
Yeah.
If you were really interested and you contacted us, we could try to help you maybe of people that we think are reputable, but I'm not going to charge anyone for any of that stuff.
So, Kaylan, hey, can't thank you enough for coming by here, Studio 312, and really, walking through us all this stuff. Unbelievable information you gave us. I think if any one of you out there really is interested, as you said, in like a lot of the local history, you're going to get a lot of that during one of these investigations, and maybe you'll have a visit from the paranormal.
Yes, get a bonus.
As well. You'll get a bonus there as well. So, did you have fun here?
Yes, absolutely. I really appreciate it and be happy to do it again.
Yeah, well, I think we just may have to. So, just as an out, where can they get a hold of you once again?
Yeah, so easiest, Haunted Carlinville on Facebook or hauntedcarlinville.com. For any other American Hauntings events, you can go to prairieghosts.com. And for our conference, you can go to americanspookshows.com.
There you have it. Kaylan Schardan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow. Kaylan Schardan, great guest. Certainly one of the best we've had here on the What's That Like podcast. Great, interesting history. I mean, I've lived in Macoupin County most of my life, and she was telling the stories of, the $1 million courthouse in Carlinville and the Loomis Hotel or the Loomis House right behind it, and some of the scandal and stuff that was going on really right after the Civil War. Just amazing stuff to me. And then, when she was talking about a lot of the ghost hunting that she does and some of the things that goes on, just certainly something I think I've got to check out. If you want, like I said, give Kaylan a contact. They're doing the haunted tours there in Carlinville. She does the ones in Alton as well. You can find all that on the website that she mentioned. I'll make sure I put all those in the show notes as well so you can get easy clicks over to a lot of that. Before we go, what I want to do is bring on my friend Greg Shively. Now, Greg's a friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. Greg's also interested in the ghost hunting stuff. He's actually seen the movie Ghostbusters over 112 times. So let's go ahead and bring Greg on. Wait, what? Oops. Bob says we're out of time, Greg. Sorry, buddy.
Again.
So that's it. We'll get you next time, man. All right, that's it for the What's That Like podcast. We'll see you next time. Peace out. What's That Like is available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Search for What's That Like. Subscribe today and never miss an episode. Streaming is available at SoundCloud.com and on the SoundCloud app. Follow What's That Like at Facebook.com/What's That Like podcast and on Twitter at What's That Like Pod. All opinions of the guests of the What's That Like podcast are their own, not necessarily the views of the host or the podcast producers. We hope you enjoy this podcast serving Central Illinois and beyond. Peace out! Do you consider Ghostbusters a documentary?
No. Especially not the remake. No. Original Bill Murray, awesome. But no,
not at all. Did you like the new one at all, or did you see it? I never saw it.
It's not my no. I know I'm going against my ladies, but it's not my thing.